and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to have a little homeschool update, and I'm going to be really honest about things that have been happening here in our home, what worked and what didn't, our ups and our downs. I know there are days when sometimes things can feel really overwhelming as a homeschool mum. I try to keep reminding myself of the story of Adoniram Judson. He went to Burma as a missionary, and for years he never saw a convert, yet he kept on going and he kept on planting seeds. And I think just like we as homeschool mums, if we stop when things get hard, we can fail to see the beautiful fruit that God is eventually going to show us. And if you don't know the story of Adoniram Judson, he went on and there were loads of converts from his ministry, but he had to bury several children, a wife in Burma, 2 wives in Burma, and there was just lots of heartache, but so much fruit from that. And I just want that to be an encouragement to you. If things are hard, then don't forget there is fruit coming. So one thing that has been working really well for us in our homeschool has been creating a consistent schedule. Now, if you know me, you probably know that I avoid rigid schedules like I avoid instant coffee. But I've realized the importance of having some sort of dedicated time slot in which we can do our homeschool curriculum. It helps us stay on track and maintain our focus. This has definitely been a learning process for us, because I think when we first started homeschooling our son, he was age 4, and we didn't want to overwhelm him, so we started really slow. So we didn't really have much of a schedule. But having a little structure is making a big difference to the productivity we see in our homeschool. Another thing that brings us joy is incorporating physical activity into our day. A few times a week, we will head down to our local basketball court, and Penny will scoot around on her little red bike, and Luke will do a little bit of basketball practice with me. This is a great opportunity for him to get some exercise, and also for me and Pen. Additionally, we've become the cleanup crew in our neighborhood. We try to go out and clean all the dirty bottles and the cans and just the little scraps of paper that people just throw out as litter all over the neighborhood. And we put it in a bag and we throw it in the trash. Luke particularly loves this because every time he takes a bottle or a can in, he gets a 10-cent refund for that. And the other day we took it down to the local can swap center, and Luke got pretty much $10 worth in money from just all of these cans that he had collected. And so that was a big boost for him, and we get to clean up the neighborhood, win-win. However, we definitely have our fair share of tribulations. One I struggle with sometimes is keeping Penny occupied. She's 3 years old and she often wants to play with Luke. So Luke does the BJU math curriculum. I'll link that down below. I really love BJU. The good thing about BJU is that I can actually play with Penny a lot of the time while the teacher does the math lesson and teaches Luke the concept while I play with Penny. So it's a good way to keep her occupied, and Luke is learning and happy as well. Another struggle we've encountered is getting Luke to do physical activity. Now, this kid is not particularly motivated, and sporting does not come naturally to him. He is the quintessential academic, but regarding sports, not so much. So we're doing lots of practice to get his basketball skills up. He's playing competitive basketball, but he's finding it a little bit tricky. So he does it with kids his own age, and all the other boys seem fine with it. But honestly, like Luke, it's quite a noisy environment for him, and he gets quite overwhelmed. And when all the kids run and do their practice, poor little thing, he often bursts out in tears. I don't know if it's just because he's a homeschooler and all the other kids are school kids. We don't have a lot of homeschool kind of co-op sport things around here, so we often have to just do it with the school kids. Is that your experience? Do your kids, when they hang out with school kids, find the rambunctiousness, kind of like their busyness, their overwhelming enthusiasm? Is that a little bit intimidating for your kids? I'd really appreciate knowing that. Comment below and tell me. And subscribe, because I'm really hoping this will improve, and I'll do another update video and tell you that this has got so much better and this is what we did. But one thing really keeps me going during the day, and that is when I start the day with Bible reading and prayer. So I do this myself personally. I wake up at 6 and I will read and pray for about half an hour and then do other things. I might prep the kids brekkie or do other things. And then when the kids come and they're eating breakfast, I also read the Bible with them and pray with them. Honestly, I found if I skip this, the day feels dry and boring and we just don't get the things done we need to get done. So the way our day usually goes is we start our day with the curriculum. I play with Penny usually. Luke does his curriculum while I will help sometimes. And then after that, we will prioritize some sort of physical activity, whether that's riding the bike or playing on a play park or going to a jumping park or like I said, we're doing basketball at the moment. That will take priority to get that physical education in as well. Then we have lunchtime, which is usually a healthy-ish lunch. And then the kids start 3 hours of quiet time. Now, I don't like them to just hang out and do nothing or just play Lego during that time. So I put an audiobook on for them to listen to. These are great because a lot of them are Christian, but a lot of them teach also great character traits, grace and humility and so many other things we want our children to learn, and they do it through narrative, through story, which I think is one of the best ways to learn, right? If you are interested in that book list, I use it every day. I love it. I'll leave a link on how you can get access to that. It is free, so you might as well if you don't have another book list. Throughout the day, we also make time for chores and for practical activities. I really have to slow down and teach my children the chores. It's so much easier for me to quickly do it myself, but there's so much benefit in teaching a person to fish rather than just giving them a fish. And I found with Luke, just showing him how to clean up things himself, showing him how to put his shoes on himself, just do these little things himself. And then Penny's just watching Luke, so she's following Luke. So I feel like the second child gets so much easier. Now let's talk about the S word. That is socialization. It's a common concern for a lot of homeschool families, but we found a way to address it. We really try to take advantage of as many social opportunities as we can. And that includes the neighbors. For example, our beautiful neighbor, his name is David. He's 19 years old. He bought a motorbike the other day, and we hear it early in the morning, every morning. And the other day I popped my head over the fence and I said, David, can you show Luke your motorbike? And he was so willing and lovely. I have some footage on screen for you now where he's showing Luke all about it. And again, this is great social interaction. And then Luke is learning all about how a motorbike works. So he's getting that sort of education as well. I love that as homeschoolers, they get to talk to people of all different ages, and that's what you're really encouraging, and that's more appropriate because our children graduate their high school years and then they go into working in a workplace with people of different ages. Now, I'm not going to claim to be the perfect homeschool mum because, I haven't met any of those really. I certainly go through my fair share of self-doubt and frustration, but I draw a lot of inspiration from certain individuals like Jonathan Edwards' wife, Sarah Edwards. She was a beautiful woman. She was so gentle, and I love that her children, they made a remarkable discovery after so many years, and they said, we can't remember her ever shouting at us our whole childhood. And that is beautiful. I think wouldn't it be lovely if our children said that of us? I certainly want to strive to emulate her gentleness and peace because I know that our children are going to learn from those experiences that we pass on to them through our actions. And hey, my actions are not always perfect. I was quite surprised when my son Luke the other day, he says, hey mummy, have you ever lost your temper? And here I am thinking, have you not watched me? And I said words to that effect, and he said, oh, just checking if you were going to be honest. That was a pretty humbling moment for me, I can tell you. But I firmly believe our own sins and our own shortcomings are a great opportunity where we can teach our children. We can give them permission to pull us up when they see our bad behaviors. Hey mummy, you've just shouted at me. Hey mummy, that was completely dishonest. And it's moments like these where we can point to our Savior Jesus as being the perfect example of everything in this way. And I think that is beautiful. I am thankful that my kids don't just look at my example, they look at the examples of so many people around me. I also love that you can have a curriculum that has the gospel in it that will also teach your children for so many minutes or hours during the day, the gospel as well. And I created a video last week on gospel-centered homeschool curriculum, so check it out here.